Stephan made a name for himself under the moniker of Coffeezilla by exposing and mocking the tactics of charlatans and grifters, from the fake gurus all the way to the crypto scammers, even earning himself several high-profile arrests underneath his belt.
Sam Bankman-Fried was finally arrested yesterday, putting him on the Coffeezilla wall of shame.
But that doesn't mean that he's infallible. Like you, Coffeezilla might call his friends out here and there when they're being an idiot or just not living up to their potential. The only problem is that the two best ways for unscrupulous men to appear trustworthy is by either tearing down the reputation of others and exposing their propaganda to the world, or two, befriending those that do. One of Coffeezilla's friends actually did both.
It's a pretty big scandal, and it involves a lot of people I know. Some of them I've even done collabs with. And just honestly, it's crazy how many of the biggest financial channels took deals promoting this garbage.
Spencer Cornelia rose in popularity as a self-professed king of research around the same time as Coffeezilla. Through his Authentic or Charlatan series, he took a supposed unbiased look at the courses sold by gurus from the real estate industry all the way to sports betting. And let's take a look at this series to see how Spencer decides who is a charlatan and who is not. Choosing at random, let's take a dive into, let's say, Dan Lok. And quickly you will see Spencer identify red flags in Dan's story.
I found a few inconsistencies in his speeches, multiple instances of straight-up plagiarizing other internet marketers, multiple occasions of needing to really investigate if what he was saying was true, and the LinkedIn profile raised way too many red flags.
He also broke down the value of the courses that were sold and why he personally believes that the courses were a scam.
His high-ticket closer program is 7 weeks long and costs $2,500. For 7 weeks, you apparently learn all about how to sell high-ticket clients on your services. The problem I have is that the people signing up for these courses aren't running businesses before signing up. They get sold that the course will help them learn how to have the easiest path to six-figure incomes by selling some magical high-ticket clients.
Ultimately, Spencer had rated Dan as a charlatan, but he didn't always rate his subjects as one. Take his video on Graham Stephan, for example. He did nothing but sing the praises of the man, and it's important to note that Graham had been an inspiration to Spencer to keep going with YouTube despite not seeing success yet. Now, don't worry, he doesn't just use his inspiration to clear the man. No, he cleared Graham as authentic because of his proven track record prior to selling his YouTuber Creator Academy course.
Crossing over the 100K subscriber mark, he sticks to what he knows best, real estate.
Graham initially grew on YouTube through sheer luck. He would film and document his walkthroughs of houses he was selling as a real estate agent, and eventually he would gain real traction when he gave basic real estate and financial advice, all while preaching financial minimalism to achieve your goals. If we take the words of the godfather of propaganda, Edmund Bernays, propaganda is the conscious and intelligent manipulation of the opinions of the masses to further a particular interest. And with that, we may be able to see why Spencer conveniently didn't include the course that Graham sold with his previously identified charlatan, Dan Lok. A course that had used the exact same manipulative sales tactics and poor valuation that Spencer identified as red flags of a charlatan.
I'm going to be talking to you today about a very cool training, something that can help you make an extra $5,000 to $25,000 per month, and is totally different than anything else you've seen. And to provide this training, I'm bringing in none other than celebrity entrepreneur Dan Lok to come and join.
One should always ingratiate yourself with the powerful, and that rings true here, as Graham aided Spencer in joining the creator's agency. Now, this agency only really functioned to aid creators in getting sponsorship deals for their channels, but it's important to note that the channel itself has the final say.
We're going to first begin with my conversation with my agent so I can share with you how these types of conversations go. My agent reached out and said they are interested in sponsoring you for a certain amount.
One of these sponsorship offers that Spencer received was Established Titles. And for those who are unaware as to who Established Titles is, they sell gag gifts of 1 square foot plot of land in Scotland where they claim to plant a tree for every plot sold. The Gag comes from their marketing, where they state that it takes advantage of a legal loophole where landowners in Scotland can legally call themselves a lord or lady.
I just closed on this house last week, but buying property seems to be getting more unaffordable by the week. However, there is another way to be a landowner that you may not know about. With this certificate, I can now be referred to as Lord Spencer Cornelia because of the Scottish custom where landowners are referred to as lairds or lords or ladies in English.
The only problem is that it was a lie. They were based in Hong Kong and donated $1 to one of two charities per $50 PDF certificate that they sold. And the trees themselves? Yeah, they were not planted in Scotland, but rather in Africa, despite the advertising claiming to restore and preserve Scotland's ecosystem. The other issue was that they didn't even bother to sell you any land in Scotland, but rather resold the same plot of souvenir plot over and over and over to multiple customers. Even if Scotland recognized the land ownership, which, spoiler alert, they don't, you wouldn't even be able to call yourself a lord anyway. One of established title's biggest rivals even lost a lawsuit against a Scottish politician over this. All of this, and more, was able to be found with a short Google search back when Spencer took the sponsorship, and the best part is, he himself claims to have done his research. When initially looking at the sponsorship, Spencer's first gut instinct was that the company was shady.
I said, I'll pass, not something I'd like to promote. My first instinct was that it was like some silly gimmick. I didn't even know what they were promoting. And so my first instinct was to say, I'll pass. My agent say, understood. Could you send me a reason as to why, just to make sure I'm pitching you to brands that are in alignment with what you want? And I thought the lord or lady stuff was kind of odd, and I didn't think it would work for my audience. And so that's why I initially passed. It's a low cost of entry, and it was at this time when I actually started looking into them, and I saw that it was a charity. And so I realized that the lord or lady stuff is just kind of like a little gimmick on the side, but the real push is for people to donate to a charity.
What you've just heard was from Spencer's apologia, not to be confused with an apology. He spent the entire time defending his choice to have the company sponsor his channel, and also why he considered the company a charity. But most damning of all is that he admits it was a bait and switch.
The business practices that established titles employs, which is kind of like a little bit of a bait and switch, where you don't actually get title to a 1 square foot plot of land in Scotland. I totally understand. I don't think you're wrong to think it's like scammy to do that. For me, my interpretation of this was that this was a charity for planting trees, and the fact that they actually plant trees is what matters most to me, and I'm happy to report that they do.
Even with admitting that this is a bait and switch, he still calls them a charity. For-profit companies do not have to disclose their financial statements to the public. Well, charities do. If Established Titles was a charity, Spencer would have easily been able to post these statements, and he did not. Spencer has already demonstrated that he knows how to research LLC companies, as he has searched these up in the past when investigating his Authentic or Charlatan series. Established Titles and their parent company Galton Voisin are for-profit companies that happen to donate $1 for every purchase of a $50 souvenir plot, gaining a tax write-off in the process. But to Spencer's mind, that is enough for the king of research to declare a company a charity and overlook the way a product is marketed and sold.
I looked at a charity and really liked what they were doing and overlooked the other part. And it sounds like a lot of people feel deceived and a lot of people felt like they got scammed.
Spencer falls back on the old Grifter playbook where you make the damages appear less severe by making it seem like you have nothing to gain from what you were doing, but instead have everything to lose.
Again, I didn't make a lot of money. I made a couple $1,000. I certainly would not try to ruin my reputation for a couple $1,000 by promoting a scam if I thought that people were being hurt in any way, they were being damaged in any way, or if it was just something bad. I still like that it's a charity.
This is a damage control tactic that downplays how much someone has gained. Something that Spencer, a short time later, applied on behalf of his friends when FTX collapsed. FTX was a major cryptocurrency exchange founded by Sam Bankman-Fried that collapsed in November 2022 following revelations of financial fraud. Sam was secretly using FTX customer deposits to offset the losses of his sister company Alameda Research, and when balance sheets leaked to the public, it suggested potential insolvency, and so a bank run happened. Unable to meet these withdrawals, they quickly spiraled into bankruptcy, and Sam was eventually convicted of fraud. Several of Spencer's friends, including but not limited to Graham Stephan, had channels dedicated to financial advice, were heavily sponsored by FTX. And in his infinite wisdom, Spencer decided that it would be a good idea to defend his friends and deflect blame away from them after billions of dollars were lost.
SBF deserves to be in jail for defrauding millions of investors and customers and causing absolute financial mayhem. Look, I'm not here to tell you how to think or what to believe. I've seen so much hate thrown towards finance YouTubers as if they were the problem.
Well, it's true that FTX collapse was the fault of Sam and his team. The problem lies with how Spencer downplays the damages his friends caused. He even actually does this with some classic lies with statistics. By showing a larger pool of people reached through a wide marketing campaign, he assumes that there has to be more victims in this pool, versus a targeted niche with a parasocial relationship on top, when in fact it is usually the opposite that is true.
And those who are reaching 50 to 100 million people probably are a little more at fault than someone with a fraction of the audience size.
Influencer marketing, not to be confused with a celebrity endorsement. Dollar for dollar is one of the most effective forms of advertising by far. It is why these guys were paid millions of dollars to promote this exchange. In Spencer's mind, you can ignore that because large investment firms like BlackRock couldn't see it and as a result invested and lost when 1. Investment firms and venture capitalist companies set aside a portion of their investments into what is essentially a gambling fund, looking for that one unicorn to take off. And 2, when a company goes bankrupt, the first people to receive back their investments during the bankruptcy proceedings are the largest investment firms, aka BlackRock. It is actually the common man that truly shoulders risk when investing. Spencer knows that crypto is something that you shouldn't promote, especially as someone who is in the finance space. Yet he defends his sophisticated investor friends when all they do is finance and give financial advice all day long. And within that advice, they promoted FTX to their audience, who was watching their content specifically because they were looking for financial advice.
I am so thankful I stayed away from crypto. It seemed like such a huge, risky industry to get involved in and promote in any capacity. And I mean, billions of dollars in damages. I think they've already proven that there's been billions of dollars in damages. So, I mean, that seems already factual.
He justifies defending his friends by saying that everyone has suffered. You merely lost your life savings, while his friends, they took a reputation hit.
Keep in mind that everyone involved here has experienced damages. Every innocent customer has lost their funds. Finance YouTubers have experienced reputational damage.
Funnily enough, the person whose reputation was most damaged by this was actually Spencer himself. Yet it was not the first time his reputation had took a hit. No, that was when he got involved with a gambling influencer named Mickey. Spencer had first made a video on Mickey as an offshoot of his Authentic or Charlatan series where he wanted to find out if Mickey was a genius gambler or just a fraud. The investigation was started because Mickey claimed to have a winning formula to win a negative EV casino game called Baccarat, and also the fact that he was posting on social media asking people to pay for his tournament pools for a slice of the prize, also known as staking.
Social media is full of charlatans right now taking people's money, and I simply just try to be a regulator. Once I saw that he was asking for people to stake him for his gambling, I figured a video was warranted.
Spencer broke down the other games that Mickey had played and showcased winning big on games that are house edged with no player input involved, like roulette. He also talks about how historically when players have an edge, they are limited or banned well before you can take casinos for hundreds of thousands. But more importantly, Spencer tackled Mickey's rags to riches story.
His story is pretty difficult to believe. He was homeless, getting kicked out of school, owning pharmacies, and oh yeah, a little before that he was working on Wall Street as a trader with face tattoos and alleged criminal history. Kind of a stretch a little bit.
In the end, the conclusion was that the man was a fraud, and you'd think that this is where the story ends, but you'd be surprised to hear that this was just the first in a 3-part series on how Spencer changed his opinion and became friends with the man.
It just, like I said,
what does that mean?
It looks bad for your channel. You guys look like friends.
Yeah, we are. I'm his friend. Yeah.
It all started when Mickey invited Spencer over to his house to clear the air and save his reputation, and he succeeded in doing so. Spencer had completely flipped his position when Mickey showed his tax statements from 2020 that detailed his wins and losses and came to the conclusion that Mickey was legit.
I'm sure some people will watch and still not believe, and that's totally cool, but from my perspective, he showed me he is a winner in the official casino app. I have to say he's legit.
Yeah, Mickey wins some, he loses some, and he's currently up. That's how gambling works. But that doesn't prove that he has a system to beating a negative EV game. It merely means that he's been a bit lucky on a negative EV game. That doesn't stop Spencer from changing his tune to believing that Mickey might have actually created a system.
By the way, to those watching, I still don't recommend Baccarat. I think Mickey approves as well. I have been told by many poker players that you can't win long-term at Baccarat until the strategy is released. So I would not recommend playing poker. I don't recommend gambling in any way, personally, unless you have an edge, unless you can win.
Spencer initially investigated Mickey because he was asking the general public to stake him in a negative EV game that pro players say that there is no system that you can use to beat it. But when confronted with this issue, Mickey gaslights the interviewers.
Who is he scammed? And this is a tough question for you. This is not a fair question for you, but I'm saying, like, who is he scammed? Like, if you want to share with me, what business was he running that he scammed people? He didn't take anyone's money.
He will say that when Mickey himself has admitted to him that he is in fact taking other people's money, and even provided Spencer with a breakdown as to why he does it.
I really don't want to do it, but I was like, I'm getting exposure that I'm doing it for my famous friends. I'm getting all this harassment that I don't want to help the little guys. So I was like, you know what, screw it, man. If it helps them and it eases up on all my harassment, I'll just give an opportunity for me to allow strangers also to stake me.
It's the old, I didn't want to do it, but everybody kept asking me to do it, so my hands were tied. I was forced to. Well, Mickey doesn't sell a course on his strategy to beating an unbeatable game. He markets himself that he can in order to get people to stake him with an unfavorable deal.
And when I do, it was always like for friends and like for fun. So I do like an even split. I do like, like 50-50 or whatever it is. I don't have a markup. I don't do those things.
If you're not a gambler, at first glance, this appears to be a straightforward, fair deal. But it's actually skewed towards the player and not the staker. Normally, when someone puts up 100% of the funds, they end up receiving, at worst, 60% of the profits, because they're taking 100% of the risk. And the key word is profits. The player won't make a dime if they break even, while the person who put up the money gets all of their investment back. They are taking 100% of the risk, so they will naturally receive the lion's share of the profits after their initial investment is returned. What's interesting is that in Spencer's video to prove that Mickey was legit, for some strange reason, Mickey thought it was a good idea to offer an even worse deal for the staker.
I decided to stake Mickey 100% for event number 66 called Mini Main Event, $1,000 buy-in, no limit hold'em 3-day event. I would receive 25% of the payout.
Generally, the payout tends to skew back towards the player, the lower percentage that is staked, and this is what Mickey is advertising to get. Well, it's not a scam per se, it's rather just a horribly one-sided deal despite looking completely fair. And in attempting to build Mickey's reputation, Spencer's actually took a hit. When Spencer meets with people he is investigating in person, he tends to take them at their word and appears to become incredibly naive. The most recent example of this was when he went to visit someone Coffeezilla exposed as a fake guru 3 years prior at his mansion.
This guy got exposed by Coffeezilla a couple years ago, and I'm just going to show up and ask him some questions. I don't know much about him, but there's always two sides of the story, and I want to hear his side. I think this will be interesting. You're going to enjoy this one.
Noir Trades was marketing himself as an 18-year-old day trader that went from $20,000 to millions in less than a year, as if a 17-year-old kid could get access to $20,000, yet alone turn that $20,000 into millions in a year. Noir was running a website that was linked to his social media pages that functioned as a click funnel to his paid stock picks. Coffeezilla's expose broke down how this sales funnel functioned, and when Spencer asked Noir about this, he appears to have been successfully gaslit.
That page is, I actually tried to go on that page and it wasn't there, so I'm not sure if he made that either he got that information from someone or he edited that and put that in the video. I'm not sure what went there, but I tried to go on the website myself and I couldn't find it.
Oh, that threw me off.
Yeah.
I thought it was your sales page.
No.
I thought you had a whole funnel.
Spencer took this hook, line, and sinker as he seems to be incapable of detecting people's lies in person and takes them at their word. And if you don't believe me, listen to the words of the man yourself when Coffeezilla asked him if he thought Noir was legit.
The question, do you think he's legit?
I think he's legit based on everything I saw. I saw accounts. I saw his students who were making money. They claimed they were with him for a couple years. They showed their accounts.
No.
They preached about how successful he was as a trader and in turn made them as successful as a trader.
As long as someone likes a product or makes a profit, you can't have a scam. At least, that's the case in Spencer's eyes. And again, if you don't believe me, here it is, straight from the horse's mouth.
And so to me, you can't have a scam if people enjoy the product.
Spencer has conveniently forgotten the main argument that Coffeezilla had as to why he considered Noir Trades a fake guru. It is because he was caught red-handed stealing stock picks and marketing materials from other gurus.
He started uploading to his chat room. This is his side right here, and this is Noir Trades over on the right. He started uploading his with a watermark. Okay, I don't know if you guys can see that down there. There's a little watermark. He'll zoom in a second. And the question is, would Noir Trades copy it with the watermarked image? Check it out.
I started my notes at 6:46 a.m. Noir Trades came in at 6:52 a.m. and copied me word for word. Here is my company logo, Stock Hunter Trading LLC. This is a watermark.
When Spencer confronted Noir about this, or rather when Spencer asked for proof that he actually turned $20,000 into $2 million, he got to watch Noir Trades and his students day trade for a half hour before being told that, well, Coffeezilla just didn't look for any proof.
I've always thought most of them were frauds online, and so I was wondering, like, what type of proof did you have, or that you could show him that maybe you actually turned 20K into $2 million or whatever?
So he never took the time to actually look into any proof. He just wanted the views for his channel. But if you go to my channel, I live record my logins, and I'm actually one of the only traders that do that. I only know one other trader that does that.
What a mix of half-truths and whole lies. Noir Trades does record his trades in one take, phone to screen. But they certainly are not live. As you also saw earlier, Coffeezilla did search for proof as to how Noir was faking his claims. By answering in this manner, it makes Spencer believe that he's being transparent and open. And as a result, he doesn't press for a direct answer to the question and instead takes Noir's word for it and the brief trading time as proof. Instead, he moves on to another question, one regarding an interview that Noir Trades paid $4,000 for. If you were so successful trading, why would you ever teach others? Noir Trades initially stumbled on his words and appeared to be unsure as to how to answer this question, which is surprising considering the response to Spencer when asked why he stumbled.
It's a question about, if you were so successful trading, why would you teach others? And you stumbled on your words, you didn't look good, and so I was wondering, just looking back on it, what's your perspective now?
So there's two things with that. One of them is, with that interview, you watched the Coffeezilla version. You didn't watch the actual interview where I actually didn't stumble. The second thing is, between every interview and podcast, people who get interviewed know that they have to let you know the questions beforehand, or they have to ask you at the end of the video whether those questions are okay or not with you to be posted.
Okay, first of all, Coffeezilla did play the interview directly, and he just commented on it after the statements were given. It's right here for reference.
To be clear, this is what I watched. This is Loft's video.
This guy is a scammer. He only came to this interview to advertise his scam. Do not join his Discord.
By the way, how pissed would you be if you paid $4,000 and they start the video by calling you a scammer and making you look stupid? I would be furious.
This guy makes money off people, not off stocks.
I actually just posted...
What's your response to that?
I mean, people... So, look...
When's market open?
So that was his edit. He made you look bad, okay? Don't blame it on me.
Secondly, why on earth would you allow a damning question in your paid commercial interview when you had full control over what was allowed to be asked? Maybe it exposes why Spencer didn't ask any hard-hitting questions in this interview that he later recorded an apology for. The apology was Spencer admitting to being weak when it comes to confronting people in person and his plans to avoid that in the future. All in all, the apology was well received, and it appears that Spencer took accountability for his actions and will do better in the future. That is, at least if he didn't put an affiliate link to a Grifter ClickFunnels in his description. The OPM in OPM Mastery stands for Other People's Money, which is an entrepreneurial strategy in which you seek out other people's money to fund your business. This can take the place of loans, grants, or lines of credit. The best of these tend to be grants, as many of them you don't have to pay back. And at first glance, OPM Mastery teaches you how to apply for a business credit card and other loans. Unfortunately, grants are very niche-oriented and localized, so a generic course can't really teach you which ones to go for, but they may be able to teach you how to look for one. Alright, so far everything appears to be on the up and up and exactly what the advertising said, but all you need to do is click one of the first links to learn exactly what this place is. A copy-paste business mentor system where you can make $50,000 a month and go from $0 to $1 million in just 4 months. All by teaching others how to set up a turnkey business that teaches others how to set up a turnkey business themselves. Yeah, you're in the coaching guru pipeline. And to use Spencer's own red flag question against him, if your turnkey business is so profitable, why would you ever want to flood the market with copycat companies, diluting your market share? Going from calling out the charlatans to directly funneling his audience to them, Spencer has been very clear that he believes in gurus and courses, and he has no problems with the majority getting a bad deal if a couple of people end up profiting.
You're like kind of like a similar to Coffeezilla. You expose bad people in the finance space, fake gurus, people who are on that borderline of promoting scams, but you're friends with people who many people believe are scammers. And just to be frank, for sure, in my opinion, at least, are grifters. And a lot of us think it's a complete contradiction to everything that at least you're supposed to stand for. And I just want to hear kind of your response to that and like how you would defend that, even being cool with those types of people.
Maybe they aren't grifters. Has anyone thought of that?
For argument's sake, let's say that becoming a business coach or guru isn't for you. What are you going to do with all that new business credit you have available, assuming you even qualify for any of it? Because, spoiler alert, banks aren't in the business of just handing out money away without any collateral. Just keep doing your courses and you'll come across some other nice little businesses that you can happily hire to run your company for you. No work needed at all. The businesses run themselves after all. From running an Airbnb on autopilot in which you hire them as a property management company, all the way to a $20,000 algorithmic trading bot, one that boasts a 366% return in 2 short months. Granted, their disclosure claims that the average is usually around 10% monthly, as if that is still a reasonable number. Wall Street would kill for 10% a year, yet alone a month. Don't get me wrong, it is possible to make money with trading bots. It's just that the odds are higher that things like trading fees will cause you to lose money. The issue isn't always with the product itself, but rather the deceptive marketing behind it. But Spencer doesn't care about that fact. He even goes as far as to say that as long as people have made money, you can't call it bad advice.
When just about all of them are down 90%, and same thing with Jeremy. So I don't see how you could make money.
Because if people have made money and people have lost money, well then, how do we differentiate good advice from bad advice? And how do we differentiate, how much of it was good versus how much of it is bad?
Well, if that's the case, Spencer should have never found a charlatan in his Authentic or Charlatan series. No Ponzi scheme would ever be called a scam, because contrary to popular belief, you are statistically more likely to make money in a Ponzi scheme than the average MLM company. And for every person that Spencer sent to this guru pipeline, he got $1,000. And he sent you here because he believes in gurus, regardless of how they market themselves.
I very much believe in gurus. I love courses. I love really good gurus and who I perceive to be good gurus. And I knew that at some point I would want to pivot and promote the good guys. And I knew that my audience would probably turn on me at some point. I didn't expect this, but I knew at some point there was going to be a moment where I wanted to evade this niche.
It's the same reason why the man promoted Nikki and Noir Trades. Spencer is the grifter who calls out grifters so you don't look at his own. It's a form of psychopathic behavior, and if you're interested in learning more on how a psychopath thinks, then check out this video here that teaches you exactly that, and subscribe for more.